Hello, I'm Paul Callan and this is MotorZen News. Two lads from Tipperary are after doing a global deal with Ford, and you might wonder what that's about. Well, it's two lads, one named Patrick, 33, and the other named John, 31. That's the Collison brothers, and their company's called Stripe, and they're after closing a deal with Ford to look after all of Ford's e-commerce business all over the globe. They're already worth $11.5 billion each, so it's not probably that big of a deal to them, but for us in the motor industry it's quite a nice little achievement for Ireland. Another story we're looking at there now is that British Volt is going to be the name of a new battery factory that's been built in the UK in Northumberland. It's going to give 3,000 jobs. It's going to manufacture lithium batteries for cars, obviously. The reading into this, it looks like the UK have worked out if they don't have a facility that's manufacturing batteries in the UK, then the car manufacturers may not decide to manufacture cars in the UK. So they're reacting to this situation by building this factory in Northumberland that's going to employ 3,000 people. Autoglass has just done a deal with Bosch for ADAS. So all Autoglass fans now are going to have the ADAS equipment to do the ADAS calibrations on it. There's 25 Autoglass depots in Ireland, and we're not sure if that deal is running out through Ireland, but I suppose if it is, if you were thinking of getting into ADAS, you probably need to be careful to say, is there actually a guy that's doing Autoglass that's got the system, and it might be better for me to use him. In regard to block exemption, motor vehicle block exemption, the European deal that's done between freedom to information and right to repair and so on, that's meant to expire in May 2023. Europe has come out now and said that they're going to extend it to May 2028. So that's probably maybe something to do with the fact the electric vehicles are changing their approach to this, but it looks like the rules are going to stand until 2028. Autodata have done a survey, and they've worked out that the most serviced car is the Ford Focus from 04 to 08, so probably a Mark II Focus. The most serviced van is a 14 Transit, and the most looked up item is oil spec, and the longest time spent on our system is for wiring diagrams, obviously. But this information is obviously information that Autodata are gathering now on their new online system. So therefore, as you go in, what you do and what you ask for is being recorded. So they're recording all this information as you log in and what you're doing and how long you're doing it. They're gathering this data. So it just goes to show more and more data being gathered by every organisation you deal with. Skoda are trying to convince their customers to go with EV, and one way they're doing that is they come out with a statement this week to say that going forward you will not be counting the miles as a service interval for your electric car, you'll simply count time. And Skoda are saying that it's going to be 2 years, you only have to visit the workshop every 2 years with your electric vehicle, and they're saying that that's irregardless of mileage. So I don't know how they work that out in terms of suspension components wearing out or brakes wearing out, but the statement they're making is fewer parts requires fewer visits to the workshop. Okay, I just want to talk a little bit about rallying, but if you're not into rallying, if you're not into motorsport, stay with me because you might be into the technical stuff. And this year they're going hybrid, so we just want to talk a little bit about the hybrid technology and how it's integrating with the new rally cars. But before we do that, I just want to acknowledge that Craig Breen and Paul Nagel this year will be competing on the World Rally Championship with a full drive. This is the first time ever, guys, that an Irish driver, an Irish navigator, has had a full calendar of World Championship events. Craig Breen has had specific events through the years where he's done, but he's never done a full calendar. So he's got a full works drive with Ford this year. So if anything else, if that might interest you just to tune in. But Ireland as a nation, we've got a guy competing now at the highest, two guys competing at the highest possible level, Greg Breen from Waterford and Paul Nagel from Killarney. Moving on from there, we're going to just talk a little bit about what they've done with the cars. This year they've gone hybrid. They've got a hybrid unit. It's a generic unit. They all use the same unit. It's all built around a space frame now. So the cars, Puma is what's been used by Ford, and Yaris is what's been used by Hyundai, and i20 is what's been used by Hyundai. But from what we can gather, they're actually not the same dimensions as the road cars, because they built them on a space frame tubular body. So the cars, as far as we can work out, are a little bit longer and a little bit wider, and they're now incorporating the hybrid unit on the back seat, which is going to drive the rear axle. They're running a standard transmission from the point of view they're not running paddles anymore on the steering columns. They've got a normal gear shift with a sequential 5-speed gearbox. That means they can take out the hydraulics, so they no longer have hydraulics on the cars. They've got no center diff, so that was something they had down through the years where you could split the torque front to rear. They're running 50-50 torque split on the transmission now, and the hybrid unit then interlinks to a transfer box to put power into the back wheels only. They've also reduced down the suspension travel down to 270 mil. The 50-50 split on the power. They've reduced down the aero package by about 15%. Total brake horsepower, they say, when the hybrid kicks in, is up as far as 500 brake horsepower. But you have to then manage your hybrid with your braking, and when you have the power and when you can generate the power and that it recharges. It can be recharged in service as well, but you don't always have 500 brake horsepower, only when you've got the full hybrid power deployed. Coming in at 1,260 kilos as well. We thought we were going to be able to see the cars here in Ireland this year. It was suggested that we were going to get around the World Championship up in Antrim I think it was supposed to happen in August, but they didn't manage to raise the money, so we're not going to see the cars on the island of Ireland this year, unfortunately. And just another quick aside, Motorsport Ireland have a new president, Aidan Harper, a Longford man from Edwardstown, County Longford, and coming from Midland Motor Club, so he's the new president of Motorsport Ireland as well. Eurocar Parts are now stocking MAD Springs, company from the Netherlands. Really good quality spring, TUV certified spring, but the reason we're talking to you about that is they're a great spring to use if you want a helper spring. So if a vehicle is loaded and it's lying down a little bit, MAD make a great range of springs as helper springs, usually a spring within a spring, but there's also a cert on that spring, so if it's seen as a modification, it complies as well. Nice product, and you're probably going to see more of that there now coming through Euro. Little story about Tesla. Every week we seem to have something about them. Tesla can go as high as level 2 autonomous driving, okay? So, but you can have a Tesla car that doesn't have level 2 autonomous driving on it. You can contact Tesla and they can activate that in the software for your car. They don't touch the car, you don't bring the car to a service centre. They've got over-the-air access to the car. They link to the car over the air on a wireless connection, and they activate the level 2 autonomous driving in your car. For that, they used to charge you $500. Now they're charging $1,200. But here's the interesting thing. When you sell that car, they deactivate the level 2 autonomous driving. So you really only have level 2 autonomous driving for the length of time that you own the car. When you sell the car, they take it off. So is that the way extras are going to be going on cars now, that you own them for the life of the car, and when you finish with the car, they take all the extras off? An interesting thing to keep an eye on there. Again, we're telling you every week about AutoInform. AutoInform is coming to the RDS on the 2nd and 3rd of April. Tom Denton is speaking. Tom Denton has written 30 technical books about the automotive industry and working on cars. He is going to speak, and the title of his talk is, "What will you be driving in 2032, or will it be driving you?" That's what I spoke about last week, that AutoInform is not just about fixing car issues and car problems today. It's also about helping you and assisting you in how to run your business better. And now it's also going to look, in conjunction with Tom Denton, it's going to look into the future and see how we see it shaping up for the next 10 years. He's going to talk about EV, he's going to talk about fuel cell, he's going to talk about self-driving, he's going to talk about ADAS. So another interesting aside to the Auto Forum on the 2nd and 3rd of April in the RDS. And just in regard to autonomous driving, a lot of people, when I talk to them, they think it's a bit superficial and frivolous, that this autonomous driving will never catch on, and what do we need it for anyway, right? But there's some companies working in this, and the reason they're working in it is to do with road safety. 40,000 people a year die in America in road accidents, and that breaks down to 2 747s a week falling out of the sky. So autonomous driving, if it is successful, the theory is that those 40,000 people a year don't die because this system works so well. So it's to do with road safety is one of the big reasons, forgive the pun, one of the big drivers behind autonomous driving, is that if this system can work, it can mean we don't have road accidents anymore. That was this week's news. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. Thanks.